There she goes.
So you're going. Thanks, Isaac and Ken, for the good word this morning. I'm just going to jump right into it. So when I was younger, I was brought up in a Christian home. I went to church almost every Sunday, went to children's church, and I accepted God into my heart when I was around 8 or 9 years old. And actually, Bill Woods, you were the Sunday school teacher that day. And it's kind of amazing that you're here today. And you asked if anyone wanted to stay behind, and a few of us kids did and accepted Jesus into our hearts. Once high school hit, I was given a choice if I wanted to keep going to church or not. And as a young teenager, it didn't seem like I didn't really want to anymore. I met a new group of friends in high school. We were not bad kids, just doing dumb teenage things, enjoying life, exploring this new world of new freedoms. Once I graduated, I started partying every weekend. That's kind of the fun thing to do when you think you're just having fun. I always felt guilty the next day after getting drunk, but I pushed those feelings aside because I thought I was having the time of my life. I started getting into a few other things that were not good. Smoking, drinking, getting into a little weed here and there. This turned into what happened one night, that the Lord showed me something in a very harsh way. I would have been about 20 years old, sitting around with a group of friends. We had some heavy metal music just blaring loud, sitting there drinking. All of a sudden I looked down at my hand, and the beer in one hand and the cigarette in the other, and I just felt major guilt. I tried to shrug it off. Then the music seemed louder, and the words out of it were evil words. I can't remember exactly, but it was speaking. And the more I thought about it, like they just got worse and worse. I can't explain it. When I tried to ignore the words, they were getting more evil. I looked down at my hands and felt some kind of presence. I put my beer down, I put my cigarette down, and I jumped up, and everyone looked at me like, what's going on? I yelled out loud, the Lord is coming. I was freaked out. Trust me, this is not something I would say in front of my friends, ever. I ran out of the house like a madman. I didn't know where I was going. I was freaked out. Something was there. I had a feeling like I'd missed the rapture. It was unexplainable, like something was attacking me. So I ran to my truck and pinned it out of there, gone. As soon as I left, I blacked out. This next part is very hard to explain, but it was the scariest thing ever. It was a separation from God, because when I blacked out, I began to spiral down a dark hole, but darker than black. It felt like a bottomless pit. I can't explain the darkness. I was being pulled down like a roller coaster times 10. I screamed, and the scream kept going. Even though I couldn't take a breath, I was still screaming. The hole I was going down, I felt myself being choked out. I felt like I was cracked open, and all of a sudden every sin I had forgot I did in my life came back to life, but at lightning speed. It was dark, but little flashes came with memory verses from the Bible that I remembered as a kid. That kind of counted the sin. I couldn't get enough of the Bible verses out to overcome the sin that I had done in my life. But I couldn't get the words out because the sin was blocking me. It felt more real than life itself. When I would try to think of good, sin would get in the way. I felt such an evil presence, and I saw sin pulling me away. For some reason, at that time, I knew exactly what was going on. I knew that this was it. I was going to a place I would never be able to leave. And the harder I tried to fight the sin, the faster I spiraled down. I had every emotion: regret, fear, sadness, loneliness, and worst of all, the regret that I wasn't a better person. And I thought, why me? Wanting to call out for God, but I was choked out from sin, and I couldn't call for a Savior. My sin was overpowering me, and I couldn't get any more Bible verses out. Just as I started to give up, and I was almost done, I managed to find a word in all this chaos and evil consuming me. I yelled out with what I had left: Jesus! That was the only word. And just like that, I came out of that place that I was sure nobody could come back from, all from one word. Now, the way I explain this, there's no earthly words, but it was like when someone jumps around a corner to scare you, and you scream. You hold on to that fear, not being able to stop screaming. than being strapped in a roller coaster in complete darkness and just free falling. I was alone, and I didn't have a buddy or a spouse or a parent. I was completely alone. That's my explanation. And now I found a word in the Bible, and I feel this is how it explains it. It's Amos 5, verse 19 to 20. It says, "In that day you will be like a man who runs from a lion, only to meet a bear. Escaping from that bear, he leans his hand against the wall in his house, and he's bitten by a snake. Yes, the day of the Lord will be dark and hopeless, without a ray of joy or hope." Does that sound familiar? I also found Romans 6, verse 23, "For the wages of sin is death." I saw this firsthand. I also saw a spiritual battle going on for my soul. Seriously, can't explain it. So I'll use another Bible verse that was brought to me. It's Ephesians 6, verse 12. "For we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in heavenly places." So now back when I came back after I yelled Jesus, I woke up on the passenger side of my floor of my truck. It's up on its side. My one friend had came to the scene with a smash out the driver's window, and I climbed up through it. And I'm standing on the road in shock, and it's not from the accident, but to be back on Earth, essentially. I know this might not make sense, but I'm just happy to be alive. It was amazing as I'm looking around, then I remember the word faith. It kept going through my thoughts over and over, the word faith. I even seen the word, if that makes any sense. I didn't understand at the time why that word, or what that even meant. Anyway, standing there, the cops show up, and I'm kind of going in and out of what I just saw, a little freaked out. So the cop puts me in the front seat and says, "We better take you to the hospital." So on the drive there, I'm trying to be quiet. I'm just sitting in the passenger seat, he's driving, and I envision what I just saw, and I just start speaking Bible verses out of the Bible, like they were just coming to me. Like I was reading it, and they're just there. Telling the officer he needs to repent and get ready because Jesus is coming back. That's crazy. And the look on his face, he just kind of starts speeding up, like, "Oh, get this kid to the hospital." I don't blame him. So we get to the hospital, I'm like praying this in my head, and it just starts, I just start telling everyone there, "Get ready, Jesus is coming, he's coming." Like, I'm just freaking out in this hospital. My heart rate's well over 200, and I'm just freaking out, saying, "We need to get ready, we need to get ready." So my parents come to the hospital. My poor dad, he couldn't even take it. My son's kind of freaking out here. And the cop pulls my mom aside and says, "He won't stop saying Jesus is coming. I think he's on drugs." My mom was like, "Well, Jesus is coming back one day." She somehow knew something spiritual was going on. So I finally calm down, get my heart rate down, and I don't know, I just sit up at the edge of the bed again, and I say to the nurses, "Why are you just walking around and working? Don't you know Jesus is coming?" I'm just shocked. It's like I just came out of the place, right? Oh man, I was on such a spiritual moment. I was acting crazy, I know. But man, after seeing that, I wouldn't have wanted my worst enemy to have to go through that. So they keep me in the hospital for the night. The doctor said I had hit my head pretty good, but I felt great. I remember in the morning, I don't think I really got any sleep that night, but I went to the washroom and I remember looking in the mirror at myself, and I just smiled for two reasons. One, that Jesus saved me that night, and two, because I was in that silly hospital gown. But you know, I got my first lesson that day as I looked in the mirror. I had everything stripped from me in a blink of an eye. It didn't matter that I was in the hospital gown. It didn't matter if I had brand name clothes on, or that my truck was totaled off, or that my pride was shattered. No, the only thing that mattered was that I knew Jesus better that day. Nothing else mattered. So I get home, and the first thing I look for is my Bible. Try to find answers to what happened. I could not be away from my Bible for the first few weeks. You know how many times faith is mentioned in the Bible? Like, I don't know, but it's a lot. Since I just kept seeing it. And still to this day, when I see the word faith mentioned, it speaks loudly to me. So I haven't really talked about this part, actually to anyone, but the first few weeks after this, I could not stand the dark. I had to keep the light on in my room at night to sleep. I couldn't even close my eyes in the shower for the first couple of weeks. The darkness was too much of a reminder of that dreadful place. I was a wreck. I felt like I was going crazy. I dropped all my friends and basically went to work and hid out at home and a changed man. The only thing I wanted to be around was my Bible. I had to find answers. And it just made so much more sense now. I ended up getting an ulcer. I couldn't eat or sleep properly. I was a mess. My eyes were so open that when I turned on the TV, I could see all the hidden messages and shows. I could hear the lyrics and songs that are totally against God. There was so much that just tried to distract me. And after a few weeks after this happened, I graduated to just having a hallway light on. I know it might sound crazy, I know. But one night I was woken up from a dream, and I sat up in bed, and it felt like the room lit up, and I just started crying out to God in a different language. It was just flowing out. And it was weird. It was neat. It was unreal and felt so calming. After I was a bit freaked out, but I somehow knew that God was with me, and it was amazing. I've never had that experience again, but what a confirmation from God that I wasn't going crazy. Remember, Pastor John Neufeld found out somehow what happened and reached out to me. I remember he took me to Chinaman restaurant and we talked, and he said, I need to get this message out. And I agreed, but I'm not a speaker. But I got up and told everyone in this very church what happened that night 20 years ago. I was on fire for God. I'm sad that I didn't keep it up. I know people who know me now and are thinking, that's not the Cory I know. I kept this all a secret. Well, there's more to the story. So as time goes on, I start feeling lonely. I can't seem to find anyone my age that is a Christian. I check out different churches. I even drive to different towns. I don't find no one. So I go to school and finish my mechanic apprenticeship. And the guys there were shocked that I didn't party anymore. I was completely different. So I finished school, and I'm lonely. It's not easy going from a fast-paced party lifestyle with lots of friends to dropping it all. So I call out to God that I can't keep this up. It's too lonely. I need a good Christian wife or something. Like, give me something. I don't get any answers. One night I get a knock on the door, and this ex-girl I was hanging out with before this all happened, she says, you kind of disappeared from the scene. I'm thinking, well, maybe this is from God. I don't know. So long story short, I told her what happened, and we began dating. Well, it wasn't easy trying to live a life for God. I started slipping up a bit, would pray for forgiveness, but I started to not be happy because I was living a double life. The relationship didn't last long, maybe a year, and then I felt heartbreak. I became angry that I tried to live this Christian life, and this is what I get, loneliness again, and heartbreak. Looking back now, that wasn't from God. So I still try to live for God. I decided to quit my job and go work at a place where there's Christian people. So I go to work at a mechanic shop where there was religious people there that own it. I met really good guys there, and one who must have noticed I needed someone. He showed me such kindness, him and his wife. They had me over for dinners, we went hunting, took me up flying while he was getting his pilot license. I never did tell him my story. I kept it quiet. But looking back now, for example, the lesson here is as Christians, I feel we might not always think we are doing the Lord's work, but this simple act of kindness really meant a lot to me at the time. Anyway, I decided that this town wasn't for me anymore. So I decided I was going to move away. Well, as I went out of town to look at jobs, I noticed a moving trailer at a mechanic shop, and I seen that the guy was closing down. So I decided, well, that will keep my mind busy. So at 23 years old, I sold everything I had, got a small credit line, and moved to my parents' basement and started my business. I had a passion for cars. I knew the trade, but I had zero clue on how to run a business. I put in crazy hours, kept my mind busy. It seemed like the only way to not think I'm going crazy. And it kept my mind busy, that's for sure. I think back now, I think for the first couple of years I might have made $5 an hour. It was not great, but I didn't care. It wasn't about the money. So I got in another relationship for about 5-6 years. Couldn't really commit to the relationship. And my business was my main focus. We were living together and I was living in sin. It didn't work out, and I really was just drifting further and further away from the truth. I slowly quit reading my Bible, started doing things my own way. Never did forget what happened, but I deceive myself to think I can do what I want and make myself feel better, say a prayer once in a while to ask for forgiveness, and just keep repeating sins against God. This is one of Satan's greatest deceptions, I think, for some of us that call ourselves Christians. I call it trying to be a secret Christian. I was trying to be a professional fence rider. What a foolish thing. Trying to have one foot in heaven and the other in the world. I'll tell you, it doesn't work. Anyway, things started coming together for the business, and I'm going to big parties, meeting lots of women, going on big trips, driving fancy cars, Lamborghinis in Vegas, big bets at casinos. I met celebrities. Man, the world was giving me all its pleasures. But I wasn't truly happy with that, but I kept finding the next rush. I went skydiving, did all kinds of thrilling stuff. I'm not saying everything I did was bad, but some of it was outright sin against God. Another lesson that one of the devil's easiest distractions are the things of this world. If you ever turn your back on God, the devil will always have a way to bring you back to your old ways and more. You see, he will set traps, and some of you will feel wrong about, but some of you will fall for them, and let me tell you, when you start to not feel guilty and have a hardened heart, that's a very dangerous place to be. It makes me sad looking back because there are so many Christians that think we can bend the rules to suit our wants in this life. We can do what we want once we convince ourselves that it's okay. I think we should be warned. The Bible is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Just because the world is changing doesn't mean that the Bible is old-fashioned. No, it means Satan is deceiving the nations. To think we will get away with all these sins. So anyway, all these things I think are making me happy are really all meaningless. So I met my wife, girlfriend at the time. I'm still living life to the fullest. We were kind of on and off. And I don't know what I want in life. I'm all over the place. So we're out camping on Vancouver Island. We take a holiday trailer there, and at night I get another crazy vision dream. And it's a verse. These numbers and verse are plain as day. And I'm like, oh, no, not again. I thought I had figured this out. Like, why is this happening to me? And I see Proverbs 7:21-23. And that's like all I can see is this verse. I quickly turn on the light and Google the verse. I'm freaked out again. And I read the verse and it says, and this is Proverbs 7:21-23. So she seduces him with her pretty speech and entices him with her flattery. He followed her at once like an ox going to slaughter. He was like a stag caught in a trap, awaiting the arrow that would pierce its heart. He was like a bird flying into a snare, little knowing it. It would cost him his life. So here I am reading this in the middle of the night. My poor girlfriend, wife now, is like, kind of had that. She's like, who's this freak? Like, what's going on? And I asked her about that night as I was writing this. And she said I was sweating and had this horrible, horrified look on my face. This is about 10 years after that accident. And I thought I wouldn't have to deal with another episode like this again. So I thought this was about me and my girlfriend. I wasn't sure why all of a sudden I got this vision. So morning comes and things are calmer. I'm trying to play it off like a bad dream. Well, by noon that day, guess what? It's not what I expected. I get a text from a woman that said I'm pregnant. Coincidence? I think not. So now my fast-paced life is all of a sudden a giant mess. So I'm like, well, why is this happening to me? It's pretty obvious I'm not living my life for Christ. I started almost blaming God, like, how can you let this happen to me? It's my own selfish desires, not God's way. Anyway, me and Callista, we work through things, and I know I love this woman, so eventually I married my amazing wife, and I didn't realize till I started writing into my testimony that the prayer I said 20 years ago had been answered. Yes, Jesus will answer your prayers. It's not the way you expect it, and it's not going to always be instant, but He is always listening. I'm so blessed the wife God gave me. She's the most amazing woman and mother to our children. I've seriously been so blessed. So being married, I'm still not living for God. I'm still stubborn. I still have faith in God, but I want to live my way. So a year or so ago, my grandma takes her to Bible study, and I think that's great. So she's reading the Word, and we start going to church, and some days I go hungover, and But I believe it's good. I know I should do more, but I have this life I've gotten used to, and I seem worried about giving it up again. So everything starts coming together in the past couple of years. This art guy moves to town. I remember first meeting him at my parents' house, and I was just like, man, I really don't care for that guy. He's kind of convicting. More so because I felt the truth he was speaking, and I felt if I listen too much, I'm going to have to give up this so-called fun life I've created for myself. And I have really hardened my heart. But I went to a couple Bible studies with my wife and some other people, and I was turned off one day when I kind of mentioned a little bit to the preacher that I encountered with God that shook me up. And he said, well, if it was so bad, why do you live the way you do? It threw me off guard, and I was kind of offended, and I really couldn't answer it, and I didn't. I couldn't think of a reason why I backslid so far. I've been so deceived by the enemy over all these years that I thought I could sin all day and ask for forgiveness at night. So slowly over the next couple of years, I'm still not 100% following the word, but I'm making some changes. Anyway, what really got me back on that path, what got me back on my path was hearing that one of my best friends got baptized. My drinking buddy. He made a huge change in his life. It really woke me up and made me remember what lies ahead if I keep on this path. So he invited me to these breakfast meetings. They were having an A&W. So I started going to some of these breakfast meetings with some really good guys there. But the first one I went to, I pulled up and then I backed up. And I pulled back in. It felt weird at first. I had to talk myself into going in. I almost left so many times before I went into that A&W. Thinking, man, reading Bible in public, that's not me. That's kind of embarrassing. What weird thoughts in my head. And I called myself a Christian, but I can't be open about it. So it took some convincing as I'm sitting in that parking lot. I started going to some Bible studies at Art and a few people, and that's actually when it clicked. We were talking about how Moses led the people out of Egypt. And I questioned, how could the people see the sea opened up and all the miracles that happened, and yet still turn their back on God? Light bulb clicked in my head that day. That question that preacher asked me just got answered. I saw a huge thing from God, and I still managed to turn my back, just like the people of Moses did. I did the exact same thing. God gave me another chance at life that night. And not even a year later, I was finding ways to sin and follow the worldly joys that lead to death. It really was similar. And I'm so grateful we have a patient and loving God. I'm so thankful that God put the right people at the right time in my life. So anyway, me and my wife both got baptized this summer. It was one thing that I had been missing my whole life. I never thought about being baptized. And it's amazing how to be able to say I actually washed that old person away. And I can't do this on my own. It's not easy. But man, now with the Holy Spirit guiding me and staying in the Word, it's just amazing. Yes, it's not easy. It's not perfect. But Jesus knew when He died on that cross, He gave us a way for salvation. I'm here today to tell you to stay in the Word and don't let life get too busy. That you forget that there's an eternity waiting. This life is short. And I will tell you one thing, and that's the Bible doesn't guarantee that we will wake up tomorrow. Not only is Jesus coming back one day, but we don't know what day we are taking off this earth. Be ready, and know you are ready. Whether we like it or not, or believe it or not, there will be a judgment day. Now, I've seen a glimpse of it, and I'm not sure why I got a second chance. But once we are buried in that ground, that's it, game over. What you did in this life will determine eternity. And there are one or two places you will end up. Trust me when I say this, prepare and get ready. I'll leave you with a little homework. It's a little story, and I don't have time to read it or anything, but it's Luke 16, 19 to 31. I just want to encourage anyone to go seek that story. And I just want to say we need to realize how important this is and how we don't know when our day is up. We need to be ready. We need to have our armor on to fight this battle. I just want to ask, are you ready? Are you sure you're ready? Don't wait until it's too late. Today might be your only chance. I did a quick Google search, and it shows that on average the global death toll each day in the world is 150,000 people. That's how many leave this earth. It's roughly 65 million a year. And every second, an estimated 2 people die, roughly. So in the time I just said this, 2 people just left this earth. Were they ready? Did they have regrets? And they're going to be judged. 2 Corinthians 5:10. For we must all stand before Christ to be judged. We will each receive whatever we deserve for the good or evil we have done in this earthly body. You know, there's no going back now for those people. It's done. We do not know our time or day, so be sure you are ready. I've learned lately that who cares about that person who offended you? Pray for them. Maybe that family member and you have a grudge. Forgive them. It's time to get over ourselves. Go out of your way to help that person in need. Do what Jesus would do. And above all else, love Jesus and be sure that you are saved. Amen. It's as easy as asking into your heart today. I'm not up here telling you what happened to me to scare you, but it is a warning of what's to come if you're not ready. You need to know that the devil is real, the demons are real, and they are going to battle for your soul. But Jesus has a promise in John 8, verse 12. And it reads, Jesus said, I am the light of the world. If you follow me, you won't have to walk in that darkness, because you will have the light